Hello everybody, Maven here, and Titan mains rejoice because today I present to you one of your new favorite builds. This is going to be with the no backup plans, one of the many overhauled exotics in this season, Season of the Deep. And what it states now in the patch notes, it's very simple. When you have a Void Overshield, your shotguns get buffed. And when you get shotgun final blows, it refreshes your overshield. So it basically turns all shotguns into Vex calibers. And, you know, previously, you can never really use a shotgun in PvE unless it was either a slug or you're using 1-2 punch. But now, this allows you to use pretty much anything you want. Plus, Legend of Acrius just got a really big buff, so we're going to be testing that out with this build as well. So stay tuned, don't forget to drop a like, and let's break it down. Hope you enjoy. Now, further read up on the no backup plans, you have to be on a Void subclass, and your rapid shotgun final blows or defeating a powerful combatant with a shotgun will grant you a Void Overshield and start health regeneration. That is very good survivability and aping, and also your final blows will refresh that overshield. Shotguns deal additional damage. When you have a Void Overshield, it is a 35% damage buff, which is massive and very much worth it. And you get a moderate benefit to shotgun airborne effectiveness and reload speed. I don't know how much reload speed it is, but it feels like it maxes it out to 100. It is very fast. So this thing just absolutely does it all for shotguns. Now, since you want to get rapid shotgun final blows to get a Void Overshield for free, it is finally time to bust out a 140 RPM rapid fire frame shotgun, which is why in the background gameplay you either see me using an Icolo shotgun or a Basso Ostinato from Neomuna. But what about a shotgun that is built for damage? So that is where we come to the newly buffed Legend of Acrius. It has been years since we've been able to use this thing. It was very exciting a couple seasons ago when they gave it Trench Barrel to its catalyst. So that makes it when you deal a melee hit, it's going to buff your next 3 shots by 50%, which is huge. But that still wasn't enough of a push to make it meta. So now with the recent update, they've increased its damage falloff and also gave it the perk Deeper Pockets, which increases its ammo reserves from 12 to 16. So now the ammo economy for this thing is going to be a lot better, and it's going to be a lot more of a reliable option to use. But even though this weapon holds a lot of ammo now, I would still recommend wearing a copy of Arc Reserves on your chest piece, which increases it from 16 ammo to 17. Now that doesn't seem very much worth it when you think about it, but I'll show you why I'm using this. So you should be running a copy of Heavy Ammo Finder on your helmet, but normally Finder bricks are terrible, and when you walk over a Finder brick, you normally scavenge 1 ammo. But when you run a copy of Arc Reserves on your chest and you walk over a Finder brick, you suddenly get 2 ammo because the Arc Reserve mod allows you to hit a certain threshold needed to up the amount you scavenge with the Finder. So it is well worth it to run Arc Reserves. But what about the damage of Legend of Acrius? So we're going to do a little comparison here against a Guttural Hothead with Impact Casing and Adept Big Ones against Carl. So as you can see, it takes just about exactly 3 rockets. Now moving on to the Acrius, we're going for the Shield Bash to proc Trench Barrel and dome him twice and he just gets obliterated. It hits like an absolute truck and has way higher sustained DPS so long as you can maintain your Void Overshield. So if you do not have an Overshield before going at a fat target, you can simply just Shield Bash them and then put the barricade either on them or turn around and place it behind you, and it just feeds you Overshield constantly during that fight. So because Carl appears to be too squishy for our Acrius damage testing, we're going to go against his bigger brother Charles. Now, because Charles hits a lot harder than Carl, we're going to have to hide behind a barricade right in his face and wait to bait out a stomp, but we're able to actually take him out in 8 total shots. And that's kind of crazy when you think about it, because we can shoot all 10 Hothead rockets at Charles and he will not die, and each individual shot of Acrius is hitting a lot harder than a Hothead rocket. Yet we can carry up to 17 reserves, even more if we had more reserve mods on our chest. So imagine if your Hothead can hold 17 ammo, and even then it still wouldn't do more total damage than the Acrius. So that just goes to show how heavy hitting and how ammo efficient Acrius is now. It is very, very good. Even without the Trench Barrel, it would still do more than the Hothead, but the Trench Barrel is just icing on the cake. But what would happen if we use Trench Barrel on a special shotgun? So we're going to test out this Wastelander here because it's still going to get a 50% damage buff. So we go in at Carl with that Shield Bash, proc Trench Barrel, and 3 shots almost does as much as 3 rockets from the Hothead. so it still hits really hard. However, I did say a second ago that you should use a rapid fire frame shotgun because of the no backup plans perk, so this is a lightweight. So that brings us to my shotgun of choice for this build, which is going to be the Ikelos shotgun because it has the 2 perks that we want here, Pugilist and Trench Barrel. So since it's a rapid fire frame, it's not going to kill quite as quickly as the lightweight frame. However, relative to the ammo economy, the deeper reserves, it's going to be a lot more efficient. And the reason that we want Pugilist is because the final blows are going to give you 20% of your melee energy back, which is massive, and it is wholeheartedly a melee spam build with 100 strength because we're trying to spam the shield bash as much as possible because final blows with it grant an overshield, which is obviously what we want. And also hits with this thing suppress targets. And as you saw during some of our damage testing clips, Carl appears to be blinded, and that's because he's suppressed. Sometimes it is the same thing, and that is very, very good because it allows you to maintain your overshield so you can keep your shotgun buff longer. Now this is ultimately the loadout I ended up on. You can really use whatever primary you want. I just picked the Last Breath because I've been having a good time with it recently. However, another loadout I would highly recommend is going like this. The collective finality, conditional finality, is not as good as running the Acrius in my opinion, but it still hits decently hard. It'll kill Carl in 5 shots when you have a Void Overshield. It's fine, but I feel like the Acrius has just too much upside. It hits so hard that you just can't ignore it. But still, this is a fine loadout. Bossa Ostinato I very much like for ad clear on running Void Titan because Grave Robber, when you're spamming those shield bashes, it just auto reloads the weapon, and Pugilist lets you get back a lot of your melee energy. So you can run Void Reserves and Void Scavenger and just have synergy with these 2 things. Commemoration is there for the long range, and these are here for the close range. So that's pretty good. However, like I said, the Acrius just has so much upside. I would prefer this. So you have double shotgun for the close range, and then also they both have trench barrel for heavy damage, but then you need a little bit of range sometimes for snipers and stuff up top and whatnot. So there's a primary for that. Now let's break down our aspects and fragments. I am fairly confident that this is everything that you want because everything here has very good synergy with this build. So starting off with Bastion, no brainer. Your barricades give you overshields. You need that. And then we got Controlled Demolition. This is very good because when volatile explosions happen, you get health back, so it's good for survivability. But hitting a target with the Void ability will make them volatile. So that can even be your barricade, it can be your shield bash, or your grenade. So that is very good to have for a couple reasons. In addition to that, Echo of Cessation, when you defeat a volatile target, you create a Void Breach. So you can simply just go in for that shield bash, they'll become volatile and die, and then you instantly make a Void Breach and instantly pick it up on the spot where you shield bash them, and that is going to grant you some barricade energy, which is very important for our Bastion, but also very important for Echo of Starvation, because when we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, we get Devour, and Devour obviously is primo for survival, but also for grenade regen, because final blows while you have Devour give you grenade energy back. And the way we're getting an Orb of Power for Devour is via a mod on our gloves called Heavy Handed. We shield bash an enemy to death, we get an orb, we get it on the spot because we make it in the spot where we shield bash them, obviously. So just instant pickup, instant Devour, just for shield bashing a target, which is very, very strong to have on Void Titan. And then we move on to Echo of Persistence. Void buffs applied to you have increased duration, and we can trigger all 3 of these: Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour. That makes build a lot more consistent. The way that we are getting invisibility is via Echo of Obscurity. Finish your final blows, grant invisibility. Now that is very, very good for a shotgun aping build. Going invis and allowing you to get closer to your targets is very, very awesome. But it also synergizes with the perk that we have on our class item called Special Finisher. Obviously, we want a lot of shotgun ammo so we can spam it for Pugilist. So being able to finish a target, become invis, and make special ammo is going to be very solid for setting up our situation. But it does say we have to consume 3 stacks of armor charge to do that. So that brings us to stacks on our boots. When we pick up more power, we get an additional stack of armor charge. But not only that, we are running charged up on our chest so that we can carry an additional stack, up to 4 stacks of charge with light. And then on top of that, we are running the brand new mod Elemental Charge. Collecting a Fire Sprite, Ionic Trace, Stasis Shard, Void Breach, or Destroying a Tangle, has an escalating chance to grant you armor charge, and when this happens, it also procs stacks on stacks and gives you 2 stacks of armor charge. And we're making Void Breaches all the time, because remember, from Controlled Demolition, everything we do is making targets volatile. Everything volatile dies to make a Void Breach. So it is very easy to proc that and very, very easy to get up to 4 stacks of armor charge. So then the way that ends up is that when we have 4 stacks, we then use 3 of that to proc special finisher, leaving us with 1, making it so we only need 1 Void Breach or 1 Orb of Power to be able to get back up to 3, so we can immediately do it again. And that is why having a primary ammo is not too bad here, so you can get targets weak, so you can put them in finisher, so you can get that special ammo. And another way that we're going to consume our armor charge stacks is via melee kickstart on our gauntlets, because we want to spam melees over and over again. When we have that many stacks of armor charge, we just get like half of our melee refunded. So it's very, very good. And then we can top it off with a pugilist kill from our shotgun, followed by a barricade to proc outreach. We also proc bomber so that we can get our grenades back, because, you know, we also have a lot of discipline investment as well, because we want to make enemies volatile. We also got focusing strikes, so we deal damage with melee. We get some class ability back for our barricade to spam these abilities. And then we also have heavy-handed, like I said, that makes an orb when we get that kill. And when we make an orb and pick it up literally on the spot where we shield bashed, it's also going to proc absolution to help all of our ability cooldowns, because all of our abilities matter for controlled demolition. Moving on to our helmet, we got solar siphon because we're using the Icolo shotgun. You can change it to whatever shotgun you have. And we got hands-on just because I had the extra energy too. And of course, the heavy ammo finder. And on my chest, I got the arc reserves for the Acrius, a copy of melee damage resistance because we're always going to be in close proximity, as well as the charged up. I have 100 in resilience and strength, which I'd highly recommend. Obviously, invest a minimum of 3 intellect at all times, and then follow up the rest into as much discipline as you can get. But just as a little extra here, there are some artifact mods you can run with this build. However, they aren't too useful. Onto the Breach says defeating a void debuff target creates a void breach while your void subclass is equipped. Now, controlled demolition already does that. Everything you do is void debuff by volatile, so it's not really going to affect much. And then protected breach says picking up a void breach gives you an overshield or refreshes your existing overshield. That one is a little bit more useful, but then again, every time you get that shield bash kill or whatever, you're getting an overshield anyways, and also all your shotgun kills are refreshing your overshield. It's just a little bit of extra consistency, and it is nice. And then there is a mod here that I do not have unlocked yet, called Supernova. Picking up a void breach causes your next source of void damage to create a large weakening pulse, which, because it's void, we can assume that it's going to be a 15% debuff, which is very, very useful. And that would be very good if you're running the version like this, where you had the Basso Ostinato as well as a commemoration for sources of void damage. That can be pretty solid. So that does it for the build breakdown. I gotta say, I'm very proud of this one, guys. I am very happy about this build. It seems pretty tuned to perfection. I don't know what the heck else I could change on it. It feels pretty solid, not gonna lie. You can use it up to some pretty tough content, although I wouldn't recommend it in stuff like Grandmasters because obviously you want to keep your distance. But for everything up to raids, oh, this thing is going to shred through ad clear encounters. And also with the Acrius, you can do some very hefty damage to chunkier targets and even certain raid bosses as well. And I'm sure this build could breeze through dungeons very easily and also be pretty solid in Gambit. Now, something that I didn't test in the video, but I am very confident in, is that the Acrius, I'm sure, can very well out DPS swords from point blank range. So I'm telling you, any boss that is swordable, you should try no backup plans with Acrius instead. So as always, I will leave a dim loadout link to this build down below in the description and the pinned comment if you would like to give it a try. And it'd be much appreciated if you share this video with your Titan main friends. I'm sure they found it helpful because this build slaps, and I'm sure every Titan's gonna want to try this. So that's gonna do for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and drop a comment, because interacting with the video in different types of ways like that really helps it out, helps the algorithm. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Would love to have you here. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.